country illegally from a foreign country with no skills, no money, no papers, and immediately go on federal aid for everything, you are not required really to participate in COVID law. You certainly don't need to be vaxxed. You get a pass, whatever you want. More than 1 million people have done that in less than the last year. But if you're an American citizen, Joe Biden's very mad at you because you're one of the people who doesn't like him anymore. That's why he's polling at 38%. So today he announced new COVID requirements for everybody coming back into this country, very much including American citizens. Now, we have to do this, Joe Biden said, because of something called Omicron.
I'm announcing today that all inbound international travelers must test within 1 day of departure, regardless of their vaccination status or nationality. This tighter testing timetable provides an added degree of protection as scientists continue to study the Omicron variant.
How about no, because you have no idea what you're talking about, and more people have died of COVID under you than under the last guy. You told us we had to get the vax, but then you get the vax, and it doesn't matter, you have to jump through these same hoops anyway. How about no? How about no? Well, in the same briefing, Joe Biden joked he's not actually running the country. Now, when Joe Biden jokes at this stage, it might be another way of saying he tells the truth. In fact, Biden told us today Tony Fauci's in charge.
I've seen more of Dr. Fauci than I have my wife. We kid each other, but they look, who's president? Fauci. But all kidding aside, I sincerely mean it.
Biden's 79, Fauci turns 81 this month, running the country. Victor Davis Hanson is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. We are happy to have him join us tonight to assess. So all of a sudden, 2 years in, Professor, they're cracking down again on the COVID stuff. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it was too serious a crisis to go to waste for the left.
Yeah.
You know, in his befuddlement, Joe Biden can be very clear. When he said he was a president, i.e. Fauci, he's more like a monarch. He's got legislative, judicial, and executive power all in one. And, you know, he's mad now. Fauci's mad too, and Biden is that people don't feel that, they feel they weren't treated right, but they didn't treat the American people right. Fauci from the beginning just couldn't talk about the damage the lockdown was inflicting, economic, social, medical, from spousal abuse to missed surgeries. He just couldn't say natural immunity acquired through prior infections may be as effective as a vaccine. He wouldn't do it. Not to mention, he couldn't say, this is a red state model of Florida and Texas. This is a blue state, New York and California. They have strengths, and let's look at them empirically. He couldn't do that. He had to demonize one at the expense of the other. But when he got to the vaccinations that you mentioned, Tucker, he really jumped the shark because he basically, we remember that they weaponized that issue from the very beginning with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the left saying they wanted nothing to do with it if Donald Trump's fingerprints were on it, and then suddenly they claimed parentage of it. When they came into office, they said, you know, Joe Biden went so far as to say no one was vaccinated until I came, even though 17 million were. And then we had this ridiculous situation now where we have 4.5 million federal workers and soldiers that are going to have mandated vaccinations, but we in the scheduled fiscal year are going to have 2 million people come across the border. And we're not asking anything of foreign citizens, but we're asking everything of citizens. It's just absurd. And then, you know, in addition to that, there was this demonization of sort of the white working class, didn't get vaccinated. They were Trump ignoramuses, clingers. But when you actually looked at the percentages of groups, not that it matters, but by ethnic affiliation, it wasn't the so-called white voter who wasn't getting vaccinated. It was Latinos and blacks, at least until recently, hadn't been vaccinated proportionally into their numbers in the general population. So almost all the information that he was giving was not just inaccurate, but it was weaponized. And I guess, you know, I don't listen to Jane Fonda much. I don't think anybody does. But she did say something at the beginning of all this. She said, COVID is God's gift to the left. And what she meant was, I think, that everything from making Election Day irrelevant with 102 early and mail-in ballots and to really depriving citizens of free choice in the Bill of Rights was possible through the hysteria that happened to this very serious plague. But, and that's what happened.
That's exactly right, and they weaponized it immediately, and it really crushed people's belief in science. I mean, I think, I think long-term the consequences of this are we can't even imagine what they are. But I appreciate your assessment tonight, Professor Victor Davis Hanson. Thank you.
Thank you.
So many millions of Americans have had COVID and recovered. They probably have more durable protection against COVID than people who've been vaccinated. They shouldn't be forced to get a vaccine they don't need. The Republican Party exists to protect these people. It hasn't been. As a measure of how profoundly it hasn't been, 80 House Republicans just voted to give the federal government power to track your vaccine status. Let's hope every one of them loses. Plus, Black Lives Matter is pushing for a Black Christmas this year, and that means you're not allowed to support white businesses. Amazing. That's ahead. We'll be right back.